We are in the new content room. That's all I'm saying. I know it ain't much in here yet, but it's coming soon. Y'all just be patient. But we're gonna get into a topic that I believe is not talked about enough. In my opinion, I don't know. I could be wrong now, but I'll give me 1 second. Let me explain. All right, now that can't even talk. My bad, y'all. So the topic of today is what is it like being in Spain as a black man? I know y'all thinking, what does this have to do with anything? So like I told y'all before, this channel gonna be about culture, travel, experiences. I'm giving y'all my experiences, what it's like to be a black male in Spain. In due time, I will get y'all other people's experiences as well. So this is just from my point of view. So we're gonna start off with the pros of being black in Spain. One pro. It's not that many of you. Well, it's not that many black people in Spain. The next closest thing to black people in Spain, well, you have a lot of African immigrants in Spain, which I'll get on that subject a little bit later. You definitely dress different, so to me that's good because you don't look like your normal European or your normal Spanish person. Yeah, that's pretty much. Oh, and if you can cook and you black, the food, whatever you cook is definitely better than the cuisine in Spain, in my opinion. But that's just a couple of the pros. But we're gonna get on the cons. There's way more cons than it is pros, and I'll explain why. All right. So cons of living in Spain while black, or being black. No, let's not even say specifically black, but just being another ethnicity besides Spanish, or not being able to be like bilingual, because I just don't want to make it specifically about just black people as a whole, but I'm just giving y'all straight facts. And before anybody get any comments, oh, Spain is not like that, Spain is not like that. Look, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Your opinion is irrelevant to me because I'm giving you my personal experience. So whatever you have to say it, but respectfully, I don't care that much to listen. That's just my honesty. Now, with all that being said, con number one of being another ethnicity besides Spanish in Spain is you're not as accepted in the Spanish community as you would be, of course, in your normal place of origin or where you grew up. Because Spanish are real like family. I'm not gonna say mafia correlated, but they're real tight knit. So Spanish keep things that Spanish people have, they keep it within the Spanish people, which I respect. I understand. Your people is your people. I'm not mad at nothing like that. Another con, another con for me, I do get stared at a lot. Like a lot. And sometimes it's stares of curiosity. Sometimes it's stares of like, what are you doing here? Now back to what I was saying about the African immigrants that come over to Spain to try to find work or jobs, right? So I believe a lot of Spanish people can't tell the difference between the difference between a African and an African American, or the difference between a African, like somebody from Africa, and somebody like a descendant of Africa, but American, if that makes sense. So I think that's a big distinguishing difference because when they see the skin tone, they automatically assume, from my experience, that we're all African based on like our facial features and stuff like that. Like I said, it's not a lot of black people in Spain. So when you're walking around in these towns or these more traditional towns or small towns, you you stick out like a sore thumb because there's not that many black people moving around and about in certain parts of Spain. Let me explain. Alright, so what I mean by certain parts of Spain, so if you go to Barcelona, you go to Malaga, you go to these more bigger cities that have a lot of ports and they're more ethnically influenced by other cultures because the big city, it's like the equivalent to New York. New York, you're gonna find a large majority of like black people, Latinos, like a big diversity pot. That's what the equivalent to what Barcelona is. It's more normal to see a black person because it's a touristy area. So that is one thing I will say. Like the smaller towns, you'll get stared up and down all day long. You know what I mean? So I'm not gonna say it's a bad thing, but it's awkward because it's not like they stare and speak. They just stare, look at you like this right here. And then you look at them back like, or you wave, then they just continue to stare and don't say anything back. Or you say, hola, buenos dias, soy yo Jalen, or mi amo Jalen, or like you try to have a little conversation and then sometimes they don't even say anything back. So it's like, and the reason why I say it's like, I'm not gonna say Spain is racist, but I do believe they keep like a lot of things within their own ethnicity and race though. It's like, especially, it's hard to explain, y'all. It's hard to explain. I'm gonna get more point of views on this topic as well. So I don't want this topic to just end here and just sound biased, but it's just crazy, like how different it is culturally between the Americans and the Spanish. Even the English is different. Like my homeboy, me and he was chopping it up. Then he had his homegirl with him, and she's Spanish, and she didn't understand nothing I was saying because I guess the accent I got compared to the accent he got, she understood him, but she couldn't understand me. So it's like it's a whole lot of cultural barriers between Spanish and Americans, and being Black American, then being in Spain. Like it's so much crazy stuff that is way different from what I'm used to, and of course of what the locals are used to as well. So that has a big part to play in why Spain is the way it is, or why my perception is the way it is too. Like I said, this video is no shade or no hate towards anybody. I have no problem with no Spanish people. I have no issues at all. But I'm just telling you my reality of what it's like being in Spain as a black male. Another thing I noticed too, since typically a lot of black people who are in Spain, since a lot of Spaniards think they are African or know you're not from that area, or they think you're an African refugee or something of that nature. When you go in certain stores, like higher end stores, you go purchase stuff, you get a look of like, why are you in here? Or I'm shocked to see you in this store. Or like almost as if you don't belong there, you know what I mean? And that's just the honest truth. Could my perception be wrong? I would say yes, but I'm gonna say no for the simple fact that it happens too much. Like way too much. The look of like, you know what I mean? So that's just my perspective, y'all. Like I said, I'm gonna go way more deeper in this conversation. I'm gonna get a Spanish person to join in on this conversation to tell me what they think about Americans, and I'm also gonna get other races of Americans too, like Mexican, Latino, because this isn't just from a black man perspective, but this is from like a perspective of all kinds of Americans, even the Latino Americans, even they're not really that accepted here because they're not full-blooded Spanish. Yeah, they speak Spanish, but the Spanish in Spain and the Spanish in Mexico is different. The Spanish in Puerto Rico and the Spanish in Mexico is different. Like every country that speaks Spanish was probably once upon a time conquered by Spain, more than likely, because that's where you inhabit. That's where a lot of places inhabit like different languages and stuff like that. But like I said, we'll get deeper into this talk. But this is just my quick, simple opinion on what it's like being black in Spain. It's not bad, but there is a lot of minor disturbances that kind of annoy me sometimes that I'm still trying to understand why. But I will get y'all them answers soon. Now with all Ray J out, much love to y'all. Peace.